Hi, we're here today with Charlie, and we're talking about the bass guitar, some of his influences, and his techniques. And let's go ahead and get right down to it. What's up, Charlie?
Hey, brother.
So what about that two-handed technique?
Oh, okay, the two-handed tapping.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing about the two-handed technique is that it's not just a technique. It can actually be very musical. You know,
Okay.
sometimes you get into tapping stuff like which is really fast and flashy.
Yeah.
But it's not very musical. So I came up with this, which is an actual piece. It's actually kind of funny, but I like it. So
Okay.
it's it's a little more musical.
Yeah.
It's an actual tune.
That's awesome.
As opposed to just, really.
Yeah. I've never seen anyone actually play the bass and the I guess the lead, the bass and the lead at one time. That was amazing.
Yeah, it's not very common, but what it really boils down to is if you can actually hold a beat, the beat, then you can start exploring some other aspects of music and the bass itself. But really, it's about playing in time, playing in tune. Because 90% of the time I get hired to play,
That's like a more funk type. So you do play funk then?
Absolutely, funk is where I come from.
That's what's up, man. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd like to hear some if you have any time to show us some funk.
Yeah, I'd love to, and we'll ask our friend Elvis to lay down some funk beats for us, and we'll see
the funk.
All right.
So first of all, what are a couple of your influences? Like, how did you get started playing the bass?
Well, I got started by accident, really. I was a keyboard player, really shitty one, so I just kind of gravitated towards bass. I always loved the sound of bass since I was a little kid. Started playing when I was about 12 years old.
Okay.
Getting into jazz and punk, electronic music. It was just all kinds of different influences.
Okay.
At an early age as a bass player.
Okay.
But, that's pretty much how I started. I just picked up a bass. I was already in a band, so I just started jamming out. At the best of my abilities.
That's cool. So you've been playing for a while now?
About 22 years now.
Okay. And
quite a while.
that's a while. I know. What is your favorite genre of music to play? What is your most comfortable genres that you like to play?
Comfortable? I wouldn't say comfortable, but I like Honestly, I like Dixieland jazz.
Okay.
Anything from the era of the 20s and 30s. But you know, I grew up playing punk rock and just metal and some type of electronic music, one way or the other, hip hop. So really, there's no favorite that I have, but
music is music.
Music is music, and you know, whatever pays the bills nowadays, right?
And okay, so me being a hip hop artist and a hip hop producer, I know a lot about funk in the funk era, and you know I grew up in the '80s, so that whole thing. How are you on funk? Do you like funk?
That's where my playing comes from. You know, to me it's got to be funky. If it ain't funky, it's not worth playing. You know, and you know, sure we can talk about all these techniques, but to me it's all about stuff like that, just laying it down. So yeah, funk, hip hop, R&B, all that stuff really moves me. You know, even the role of bass in electronic music, I think it's really important. There's bands that incorporate actual bass guitar and certain types of electronic music, which I think is pretty cool. You know, and
that is pretty cool.
And even hip hop, you know, we got the Roots, and we got you know, artists like Usher that have a live band.
Yeah.
So even Dr. Dre, you know, I've seen use of real bass in the studio.
Definitely. That's how you get that thick, natural sound.
Right.
You know, that you can't get with the keyboard. You know, you can't get with the program. Sometimes you need a real human playing a real bass. So
absolutely.
That's awesome. And who are some of your influences as far as your bass is concerned, your music is concerned?
You know what? I don't think I have a main guy that I listen to. I listen to a lot of guys, and I try to steal from all these musicians. Whether it be Sting or Ron Carter or even some Mexican players that are not well known in the States, but there's a guy, Salvo Romo, that I grew up listening to, and this guy just kind of changed the way I thought about bass.
Okay.
But you know, just anything, and it doesn't have to be bass. I listen to a lot of jazz guitar. I've been playing a lot of jazz guitar. Recently wrote a book on jazz harmony. So, so I think my playing is affected by some of the other instruments that I study. You know? So it doesn't necessarily have to be bass, but you know, there's a lot of great bass.